Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to completely shatter a pretty dangerous medical myth. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, hey, I'm young, I hit the gym, I eat pretty well, I definitely don't need to worry about something like a stroke? Honestly, most of us do. It feels like this issue that's entirely reserved for our later years, right? But today, we are going to completely flip that assumption on its head. We're breaking down the whole picture of this critical medical event, starting from the hidden threats you might actually be ignoring right now, all the way to the super practical, immediate steps you can take today to protect yourself and the people you love. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll look at how strokes are getting younger, uncover what's called the silent killer, learn the life-saving B.E.F.A.S.T survival rule, break down early warning signs and first aid, and finally, build a shield using our daily habits. Let's dive right in. Okay, Section 1. Strokes are getting younger. First things first, we really need to tear down this misconception that you're somehow immune just because you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. The medical data is shifting fast, and it's time we pay attention. Just look at this number, 15%. That is a massive wake-up call. We aren't talking about rare anomalies here. 15% of all stroke cases actually fall right into the under 45 age bracket. We're talking about young professionals, parents chasing toddlers around the living room, people right in the absolute prime of their lives. And in regional data, like in Vietnam, for instance, an astonishing 1 in 3 stroke patients is actually a young or middle-aged adult. It's just a completely different reality than what most of us picture when we hear the word stroke.
So why exactly is this happening? Well, the culprit really isn't a mystery. Just think about a typical Tuesday for millions of people. You're sitting totally sedentary at your desk for 8 straight hours, you've got this stressful deadline looming over you, and you grab a greasy fast food burger just to save 20 minutes of prep time. This modern, fast-paced web we live in directly fuels rising blood pressure, chronic stress, and obesity. We've kind of engineered a lifestyle that actively works against our cardiovascular health. Strokes today, they're totally indiscriminate. They literally do not care how old your driver's license says you are. They just care if you fall into these modern lifestyle traps.
To really understand this, think of your blood vessels exactly like the plumbing in a house. About 85% of stroke cases are what we call ischemic strokes. You can picture this as a wandering blood clot acting like a sudden massive clog that physically blocks the pipes from delivering blood to your brain. The remaining 15% are hemorrhagic strokes, which is what happens when a pipe actually bursts under intense pressure. But the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that whether it's a stubbornly blocked pipe or a violently burst one, the end result is exactly the same. Your brain cells are suddenly suffocating from a lack of oxygen, and they literally begin dying off in just a matter of minutes.
Moving right along to Section 2, the silent killer.
This brings us to a really disturbing reality, one that doesn't trigger any of those obvious alarms we usually associate with a medical emergency. You see, a silent stroke is terrifying specifically because it happens entirely in the background. Blood flow gets blocked, just like we talked about, but it hits hidden areas of the brain, regions that don't directly control your immediate movement, your active speech, or your conscious thoughts. Because of exactly where it hits, it quietly starves parts of your brain without displaying those dramatic, explosive symptoms. Honestly, you wouldn't even know it's happening while your brain sustains actual physical damage. To really put this hidden threat into perspective, research shows that 1 out of every 3 people over the age of 70 has experienced a silent stroke with absolutely zero clue it ever happened. I mean, think about the older folks in your life, your parents, your grandparents. The physical damage to their brain is completely real, slowly chipping away at their cognitive health, even if they never had a single reason to call an ambulance or visit the hospital. The difference is pretty stark. A typical stroke acts exactly like a blaring siren, right? Sudden, obvious paralysis, severe facial drooping, or totally slurred speech. It violently demands an immediate 911 call. But a silent stroke? It degrades the brain quietly, a lot like rusting cracks forming over time in a building's foundation. It causes subtle forgetfulness, sudden mood swings where someone is, sunshine 1 minute and thunderstorms the next, slight changes in how they walk, or even causing them to get lost in their own familiar neighborhood. These are profound neurological changes that are tragically and incorrectly dismissed by families as just getting older. Okay, let's jump into Section 3, Life-Saving B.E.F.A.S.T rule. We're shifting gears right now to actively arm you with the ultimate emergency survival tool. Memorizing this simple B.E.F.A.S.T checklist elevates your ability to correctly identify a stroke to a massive 95%. Let's break it down really quick. B is for balance. Look for sudden unsteadiness or dizziness. E is for eyes, a sudden blurred or completely darkened vision. F is for face. Check for noticeable drooping on one side. A is for arms, sudden weakness or a numb, heavy feeling in one limb. S is for speech, slurred, jumbled, or completely confused words. And time? Time means zero hesitation. Do not wait it out to see if they feel better. Don't try to massage a numb arm away. Call emergency services, like 115, instantly. Time is literally brain cells saved.
That leads us right into Section 4, Signs and First Aid.
So here is how the body actually tries to warn us before the major event happens. In a pretty fascinating twist, your body often sends an SOS up to a full week in advance through temporary mini strokes. Think of it exactly like your car's check engine light flashing on the dashboard. If you experience a sudden brief numbness, momentary severe confusion, loss of balance, or especially a sudden unexplainable splitting headache, please do not brush it off just because it passes quickly. People constantly ignore these because they feel totally fine 10 minutes later. But you absolutely must not ignore that golden window. That is your final warning to get to a hospital before the major stroke hits.
Now, if someone actually collapses right in front of you, your calm reaction is everything. Follow this exact sequence. First, lay them gently flat on a firm surface. Don't wildly shake or move them. Second, if they vomit, immediately turn their head to the side to keep their airway clear. And let me heavily emphasize step 3 here. Never, ever give the person food, pills, or even a tiny sip of water. A stroke can instantly paralyze their throat muscles, turning even a drop of liquid into a fatal choking hazard. Just loosen their tight clothing to help them breathe easily, and loudly note the exact time the symptoms started so you can report it to the paramedics. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Shield from Habits.
I know, hearing all these facts about strokes can obviously cause a lot of anxiety. So let's take all the power back right now. You can literally build a natural shield just through your daily diet. On one side, we have our blood fat killers, leafy greens, whole grains, and omega-3 rich fish. These heroes actively scrub your arteries clean. On the other side, though, are the hidden enemies. Ultra-processed fast foods absolutely loaded with hidden sugar and salt. Cutting down your salt and sugar intake is actually the single fastest, most effective way to ease the intense pressure on your blood vessels and avoid hypertension, which, by the way, is the leading trigger for burst pipes in your brain. Beyond food, here is an incredibly simple, everyday superpower: hydration. Just remembering to sip small amounts of water consistently throughout the day is absolutely critical. Why? Because when you're dehydrated, your blood gets thick and sticky, kind of like syrup. And that thick, sticky environment is exactly how those dangerous artery-blocking clots are born. If you keep the water flowing regularly, you keep the blood flowing smoothly. It really is that simple. We also heavily need to respect a trigger that so many of us completely ignore: temperature shock. Jumping into a freezing cold shower right after sweating in the blazing midday sun, that's a massive shock that causes your blood vessels to violently constrict. The exact same thing goes for sitting directly under blasting AC vents when you're overheated, or pushing yourself in the harsh sun between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Your circulatory system craves stability. It really needs gradual changes, not extreme, sudden shocks that force your blood pressure to spike wildly.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. The most effective emergency room in the world is your own fridge and your daily routine. Prevention is your absolute ultimate weapon against strokes, no matter your age. So what's it going to be? Will you swap that sugary soda for a glass of water today? Or maybe add an extra serving of leafy greens to your dinner tonight? The choice is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me, and I challenge you to start building your shield right now.